So it's 11:30 on the 26th of the 11th, 2019, and just as another upload today, with regard to my little documentaries of being a victim of hate crime. Not just a victim of hate crime, but a victim of sexual assault and a victim of human rights violations. Um, I've explained in earlier uploads today about the violations of privacy and the inviolability of my dwellings that occurred. Um, the guards were notified about these occurrences, and they were also aware of the other violations being perpetrated in Tralee County Kerry. Um, I'm finding it a little bit unfathomable in this day and age to be sitting here as a victim, um, experiencing very serious and sinister violations, very serious and dangerous threats to my safety because of culprits in society that are being facilitated and protected. My livelihood, as I explained in previous uploads, was 100%, 100% productive, active, etc. Um, since these serious violations of my privacy commenced in 2017, well, really back since 2015, things have only exacerbated. And throughout this entire circumstance, not once have the guards followed up on any incident of assault that has occurred. They haven't followed up on any incident of the privacy violations that I've experienced. Um, they haven't followed up on any of the violence that I've experienced. Um, Instead, what has happened is that there have been, without any consultation with me and without any information being provided to me, um, a worsening circumstance has occurred, all in this vendetta of hate crime and human rights violations. Um, so, as a victim that the guards are ignoring and pretending or turning a blind eye, basically, um, it would make a person think, who are they protecting? Are they protecting the culprits, or are they prioritizing the victim? Um, the simple answer in my situation is that they're facilitating the culprits. So I'm just wondering, have they any concept of harboring preference and preferential treatment for individuals in society that have defied the judicial system, deceived the moral code and legal codes of community, country, and constitutional um, standards and foundations of Ireland? Um, there's so much wealth being pumped into agencies and businesses, and you know, so many developments of late since about 2017. There's been so many enterprising businesses occurring and so many enterprising ideas. And with all the wealth that has been accumulated, um, that I take exception to, considering it was from my work and my progress and my developments that this situation has been exploited. Not only has there been a violation of privacy, but the issue of exploitation, and as I've said, the issue of defamation. So, as a victim that's being wronged and whose legal rights are being withheld intentionally as an obstruction of justice, I'm just wondering, what conscience have the guards and the government in this situation when wronging an innocent woman, mother, and deserted wife? I'm wondering, have they lost their objective and their um, sense of duty of who they are meant to be serving and who they are meant to be protecting? Um, it's not about who you know or what you know, it's about whether you're law abiding or not. And as a victim that is law abiding and that's experiencing injustice and the most sinister of violations and the most horrendous defamation, I'm just wondering what kind of a society our citizens, politicians, and authorities trying to create. Um, as I've alluded to on my page there about rebuilding Ireland, as a woman that's been harassed from my marital home, my family home, and now currently living in HAPS accommodation, as a qualified professional, as an educated person, amongst other things, I'm wondering what kind of an Ireland is being built on these kind of foundations and circumstances, because ill-gotten gains, as I keep referring to, do not bode fortuitous for the future, especially after the offences that have been perpetrated against me. So I hope I'm making myself very clear. Um, from this situation that I've experienced, and for the fact that there's been um, individuals in society that have been facilitated and prioritized and that have been culpable for the most horrendous offences in society, I might add, um, that I have borne the brunt of, both physically and mentally and emotionally, financially and spiritually. I'm just wondering, at what cost are the guards and the government and respectable citizens prepared to jeopardise the integrity and respectability of the constitution of this country? Um, my constitutional rights have been violated, and I've experienced the most inhumane wrongdoings, only because of other people's issues. And one of the main issues appears to be their lack of integrity and their lack of honesty and their sense of achievement in deception. Um, but there isn't any deception working in this situation. It's common knowledge, the cost that these problems have caused already, um, both in monetary terms and both in there have been people, other people, very seriously harmed and damaged as a consequence as well. So I'm curious to know, at what cost are the guards and government prepared to incur further injustice and wrongdoings against an innocent victim? Um, as a victim, I should be safeguarded in society. As a qualified professional, I should be respected in society. So, for the disrespect and harm that I've experienced due to hate crime and the wrongdoings that have occurred, um, what conscience have the culprits? Um, this situation isn't going to serve anybody's good. Um, it's obvious that there's an inability of the individuals responsible for causing me these problems to actually confront the problems that they've caused. Now, that doesn't show a very high level of maturity, and it sure as hell doesn't show any sense of integrity by the culprits. So, as a member of the fellowship or a former member of the fellowship who has made amends, that has corrected my wrongdoings and my defects of character, I'm very curious about how the people of propriety and faith and respectability, etc., 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 are justifying disposing of a problem that they are responsible for causing. Um, my human rights and my constitutional rights are significant. Um, we're aware, it's common knowledge, what has been said and done since 2015 and even a decade before 2015. So, my message tonight, as my third upload in this little documentary about being a victim of human rights violations, is to the guards and government. And my message is to very seriously contemplate what has happened since 2015, and especially to consider and contemplate very carefully what has happened since 2017, since I first experienced these wrongdoings, not only as a victim, but as a law abiding citizen. So, um, this situation is highly unjust. Um, the situation has been exacerbated into a situation that is not of my making. I didn't cause these problems. I didn't incite hatred. I didn't incite dishonesty or disrespect towards anybody. I didn't incur harm or any offences against people. And whenever I did, I made my amends. So, as a victim and as a member, former member of the fellowship, um, and as a mother and as a deserted wife and as a teacher, etc., 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 I'm wondering how much more are the government and guards going to inflict upon an innocent woman, and at what cost are they going to cause more suffering for a woman that has experienced the most horrendous wrongdoings for no justifiable reason, and there is no excusable reason either, I might add. So, on the 26th of the 11th, with these circumstances occurring in Tralee, County Kerry, um, this isn't an issue for just turning a blind eye. Um, there's been very serious issues and problems caused simply due to people's inability and maturity and dignity to confront their transgressions. So if there's any further violations or wrongdoings intended, I hope the people that are culpable and perpetrating understand very clearly that for what I have worked for over 20 years, I am nearly 40 years of age, and for what I have achieved at nearly 40 years of age, and that has been stolen and damaged and pillaged and looted in a 2 year space of time, I hope that the guilty culprits for causing me these losses, grief, and suffering understand very clearly that there will be no good become from or come from this situation. So, injustice, discrimination, and inequality is a serious issue, and it's not a tolerable issue for a woman like myself who's worked for what I achieved and doesn't appreciate being stolen from.